limit access to your model and its processing pipeline in deployment. Why this principle? Knowledge of your model can enable prospective attackers to create better performing attacks against it. The range of this knowledge can be described on a scale between transparent box, when an attacker has complete information about a model's architecture, weights, and biases, through to opaque box, when an attacker has no prior knowledge except for the ability to query the model and view its decision. This knowledge may be derived directly via access to the model or inferred via knowledge of the pipeline. For example, reconnaissance of pre-processing steps, such as the shape of input data, gives an attacker information that can be used to help move closer to a transparent box attack. If a model is used in more than one place, such as over a range of products, an attacker who gains access to one instance could then create an attack that is effective against all instances of that model. This is especially important when deploying a model in uncontrolled environments, when attackers are likely to have free access to hardware, for example, in a product that is mass-produced and sold directly to consumers. What are the goals of this principle? You understand what attacks are possible against an ML model once it is in operation. You understand what information is available to users, directly or through querying the model, about your model and its pre-processing, and the implications this could have in enabling an attack. Strengthen your infrastructure. It's important to assess what aspects of your system could leak information about your model's architecture, e.g., its required input shape and weights to an adversary. An example of this is using a web-based front-end to resize images to the input size of the model. This is likely to include pre-processing or model output processing steps. Ensure these and your model are appropriately protected for your security requirements. Unless further detail is needed by another process or the end user, the model should be limited to providing the required output or prediction. This limits the potential of adversarial attacks by obscuring accuracy scores and weights, etc. Teams should be aware that certain adversarial techniques allow forms of model inference or evasion based only on the model output, although this is technically more challenging for an adversary. You may still want to consider access controls here, e.g., role-based access control, enabling different levels of insight depending on user authorization. Guidance. How you protect access to hardware and software will depend on your deployment infrastructure. It's important to follow the guidance relevant to your specific infrastructure. Principle 2.3. Requirements and development. Secure your supply chain and infrastructure has a list of security guidance. Use this as a starting point by selecting the advice relevant to your deployment method, then tailor this guidance to the requirements of your deployment system to meet your security requirements. Where your deployment method is not covered, seek specialist knowledge for your deployment type and how to protect that platform specifically. Strengthen your people. Make sure you have the right expertise for protecting the parts of your deployment infrastructure, and your team understands which parts of the system need to be protected or hidden from adversaries. Guidance. Model deployment infrastructures vary vastly, and there is no one skill set or list of skill sets required. It's important that your team has expertise for the specific deployment infrastructure you plan to use. They should have sufficient knowledge of the security of that infrastructure and work closely with the development team to understand what parts of the system are valuable to an adversary, e.g., pre-processing, and need protecting.